Hey guys, so it's been a while. I said I was going to be posting on YouTube every Friday, maybe more than every Friday, like 2-3 times a week. And then I posted once or twice and then I just kind of stopped. And it wasn't because of laziness or anything, it was mostly just that some stuff happened in my life that just got in the way and made it, I won't say impossible for me to post, but put me in a headspace where it didn't feel appropriate. And I've kind of been feeling much more in my own vibe and feeling like I want to be productive again. But instead of just picking up where I left off, I wanted to have a little bit of a chat about why I took a break. Now, I didn't take a break so much from my other platforms. I've still been posting a lot on Instagram and TikTok. I did take a bit of a small break, and I don't know if you follow me on those platforms, you may have noticed that my posting got a lot slower. It wasn't every day for a while, and I missed a couple of weeks entirely. But I just wanted to come on here and have a little bit of a chat as to why, because I'm definitely going to be picking up again and I didn't want to just leave a huge gap without explaining it in some way. So I haven't been in the headspace for a while to be talking about the topics that I talk about, and I haven't really been in the headspace to go on adventures. And I have been going on adventures, not as regularly as I was, but I have been going on adventures. I just haven't wanted to broadcast them, mainly because I go on adventures for my mental health. And by broadcasting them, it takes away some of the mental health benefit for me when I'm feeling very rough. When I'm in a good mood and I'm feeling high energy and everything's going well for me, I find it very easy to record. But sometimes, I use those adventures as genuine therapy for myself and as a way to make myself feel okay when I feel really rough. And recently, I felt kind of rough, so I've been using them the way that they're intended to be used, which is to make myself feel better, and so I just didn't feel like broadcasting them. Sometimes I have personal moments I just don't want to share. As a lot of you guys know, my mum is sick, she has cancer, and we are going through chemotherapy. She's going through chemotherapy. And look, I'm not gonna make this a depressing podcast. I'm not gonna make this a whole thing about why my life is terrible. It's not. But it's just that it takes a little bit of a toll on your mental state when something like that happens, and it puts you into a headspace where you don't feel as positive as you could. And, I like to be very positive. I like to talk about good things, and, I could have just put on a stiff upper lip and faked some of those topics, but it's not my style. If I don't feel it emotionally, if it's not genuine, if it's not real, I don't share it, because that's just not how I want this to be. This isn't an act, this isn't a persona or a character that I've invented. This is me. And I don't ever want to feel like I'm putting out something fake. And if I'd put anything out in the headspace that I was in, it would have just been negative. It would have been fake. So I just took a little break for a little while to look after my own head. It just is what it is. And so I'm feeling better. I've definitely done some work on myself, and I've definitely had some adventures that have cleaned up my head a little bit, and I'm really feeling ready to start doing my long form conversations and my adventures again, especially now that I have the van. I'll talk about that in a minute. That's where I am, by the way. This is my van. This is my new van. I'm just excited to get back to it, and I just wanted to clear the air as to why I haven't been around for a little while. So first things first, the van, it's where I'm sitting right now. This is going to be the new studio. I mean, some of you will know about the van, some of you won't. So my dad actually bought this for me. It's a 1983 VW T25 or T3, whichever way you want to say it. She's beautiful. She's everything I ever dreamed of. I've always wanted a van, as most of you know, and I've always wanted to have a van that I can convert or live in. This actually came with all the stuff. I didn't have to convert it. And I've also always had a real affinity for the T3 VW, specifically this model, because when I was a child, me and my mother and her friend and her friend's kid went around Europe in this exact model of van when I was 12. So I've always had a real affinity for being in one. I've always had a real soft spot for the van itself, and located one at a reasonable price, picked it up, and here we are. Now, I say reasonable price. I wasn't robbed or anything, but she definitely had a lot more problems than I sort of anticipated. I know some amount about vehicles, especially classic vehicles, but not enough to have spotted some of the problems that she had. It's going to take quite a lot of money to put her back together. I did put up a story when I first got her saying, look, does anybody know anything or can help me in any way? And I got some beautiful responses, met some amazing people through this van, I must say. But everybody on my Instagram suggested that I get a GoFundMe. So I did. I actually hadn't considered it before that point, and raised like more than half of the money that I needed to initially get the van on the road and working and everything so quickly. I think right now we're like 2/3 of the way there, and it's only been like 2 months or something like that, so which is beautiful, which has been a huge help as well. Because another thing that I wanted to talk about, because I get so many comments and messages about this of people being like, oh, why are you asking for money? You obviously make plenty on social media. I don't. I live in Ireland and there is no creator fund in Ireland, so all the followers I have on Instagram and TikTok, I'm so grateful for, and it's completely beautiful, but it doesn't make me any money. I haven't even made €1 off anything, or a pound or a dollar, whatever currency applies to you. I haven't made a single copper cent off any of my platforms, which is a huge misconception. Everybody seems to think that I've got loads of money now because I've got some people that follow me. I make nothing. So the GoFundMe has been huge. Now, I took on the challenge of the van not knowing enough. I thought that I could probably do some odd jobs and some tiddly bits and I'd probably be able to work my way through and it would have been okay. I have to say, there has been so much done to this van that if I didn't have the GoFundMe, would never have happened. I would have unfortunately had to resell this van if I hadn't had the GoFundMe. So hugely grateful for that. I mean, I was quoted 5,000 at the beginning to make all of this work. We've raised, I think, 3,000 now, maybe even a little more. It looks like it may end up being more than 5,000, but it's genuinely made such a difference, just the money that I've already made. It's paid for some of the welding and some of the work that's been done on it already. All my clutch and brake lines burst and they were all fixed. A load of work on the interior. She wasn't in this exact condition when I first got her. She was a little bit rough. She's still a little bit rough. What you can see just this frame, if you were to see up there, that's all just, it looks like a half-made paper mache project. But look, she leaks everywhere and she's got her problems. I can feel the breeze coming in down here right now, but she runs. She's got a great 1.9 diesel engine and she's doing fantastically. And honestly, it's one of the happiest days of my life getting this van, and it's one of the best things that ever happened to me owning it. I'm so happy, so happy. So I'm hoping that a huge part of my adventures and everything going forward will be living in the van, doing overnights in the van, adventures in the van, building the van, everything about that. I will be making a video entirely on the van at some point. If you do want to donate to the GoFundMe, a shameless plug, it'll be in the description of this video. And yeah, the other thing is, big life news that has happened recently. I was sober for 4 years from every substance you can imagine, even caffeine. And the other day, 2-3 weeks ago, something like that, I had a pint. I had a pint of beer, a pint of alcoholic beer. Now, it wasn't like I just fell off the wagon or got dragged back by old behaviours. It was something I thought out and planned for ages. I haven't drank for ages. I'm super anti-alcohol as an industry and everything, but you know, that is what it is. I never really personally had a problem with alcohol specifically. Sorry, swallowing bogeys again. I never really had a problem with alcohol specifically. I had a problem with everything else, you know, other substances that I won't list off. My fear of drinking kind of came from the fact that if I drank, would I lose, like if I got drunk, or if I broke that barrier of being completely sober, would I go, fuck it, I'll do everything then. And that's what kept me off it for so long. But I've just gone so long past being who I used to be. I'm not a degenerate anymore. And I don't think that the goal is to be 100% sober for the rest of my life. From some substances, of course. But I don't mean all substances. I just mean I don't want to be trapped in this cage of I can't do anything because I can't be trusted. So I knew that I wanted to branch out of that. Earlier on in the year, I tried edible cannabis. It was fine. I didn't lose control and have a terrible time. Definitely recognised that it ignited some less than desirable desires and thoughts in me. Edibles were never a problem in the past for me. It was always smoking it that was the issue. So I was like, you know, edibles, they won't set me off. They totally did. Eating it was great. I didn't smoke it or anything, but I definitely found myself going, is it that big of a deal if I do? It would be a lot better than eating it. It's more of a pleasurable experience for me personally. I didn't, but it definitely ignited that thought process immediately as soon as I did that. So I just stopped again, you know. It's not that I lost control, but it felt uncomfortable for me. Having a pint didn't do that at all, and I expected it not to. That's why I did it, because it's kind of showing myself that I'm not untrustworthy with my own autonomy. And it was beautiful. So what happened was I'd been thinking about it for ages. I talked to a lot of my friends about it. I'd had conversations about whether it was a good idea or not. And then my brother had a baby, a beautiful baby. I won't give out any details about the baby, gender or name, because I don't know if he'd want me to, but he'll probably be with the baby in a video at some point, and then you guys will be introduced properly. Yeah, just before he was born, I said it anyway. Yeah, I was walking around with my brother, and he was like, "Do you want to go for a pint?" And it was actually my idea. I think I went, "Do you want to go for a pint?" And I was like, "Yeah, let's do it." It was fine. It was a complete non-event. It was very anticlimactic. It wasn't like this huge thing that happened, and I didn't break down and start doing terrible things. And I've had a couple of drinks since. One, well, not loads, but you know, a little bit. Just I think 2 or 3 times since, and it's just been fine, which has been amazing. Now I have to stress, this isn't advice. I don't think anybody who used to have an addiction should go out and drink, especially if you've gone sober. Sobriety is a very necessary thing for a lot of people, and was for 4 years. If I had drank throughout those 4 years, I'd be a mess. I needed that sobriety the whole time. But just for me, it felt like taking control again. It felt like feeling normal, because for as many years as I was a degenerate, I felt like a degenerate. And as many years as I've been completely sober, every time somebody goes, "Do you want a drink?" and I go, "No, I don't drink." And then they go, "Oh, how come?" Because that's always a question. Nobody doesn't drink for no reason. They always go, "Oh, why?" And then, I'm not one to hide my past, so I'll tell them. I'll go, "Well, I used to be a complete degenerate," and it doesn't feel good to have to say it. It doesn't feel good to have to think it about myself either. Being completely sober out of necessity because you don't trust yourself, for anybody who's going through it will know exactly what I mean. And it was a huge achievement for me to have gotten to a point where that's no longer a cage that I'm in. Now, I would never do this with a substance that controlled me at some point in my life, and I certainly am not suggesting that you do it, especially if you had an alcohol problem at some point in your life. It's just something that happened to me. I've always been very open and translucent in all this. You guys, me, tell it, as I said, this isn't a facade, an act, or a persona. This is me. I'm telling the truth 100%. If I had had a pint and gone, "Well, the floodgates are open now, I'm going to do everything else," and completely ruined all my progress and gone back to being a degenerate, I would have told you. I wouldn't hide that from you guys. It would have just been not a positive video. This is a very positive thing for me. If it was the other way, I would have sat here and gone, "I have something to tell you. I'm a crackhead again." Do you know what I mean? I wasn't a crackhead, but you get the idea. So yeah, I'm going to do a whole video probably on that as well. But just to get it out into the open. And look, there are some other things that have gone on. I had a couple of injuries, really hurt my knee, really hurt my lower back. Didn't feel like doing hikes and climbing and adventures while I had those injuries, which kind of stopped me recording a little bit. And just life gets in the way. But it has been a really good couple of months, because it's given me the opportunity to kind of go back to basics. And since I started all of this, with the social media at least, you kind of just had to take my word for whether the things I was saying were actually good for your mental health, or whether they were actually helpful if you implement them in your life. And I mean, and myself, I suppose. you know, I was like, well, yeah, I know they did work, but it doesn't mean that they're fail-safe. You know, I was saying it on my own experiences, but I'd only had a certain amount of experiences. Whereas now, I had a really rough couple of months and had the opportunity to implement all of my processes, methods, tips, and tricks that I'm constantly preaching about on myself. I got to use them on myself and try and dig myself out of a rut again, and it worked like a charm. It worked amazingly. I won't say that it was really easy, but it was definitely possible because of my love of nature, my ability, I wouldn't say ability, that sounds like such a stuck up thing to say, but my way of thinking about the world and the things that I tell other people and that I tell myself about, you know, not being in competition with other people and looking after your mental health and using nature to do that and going on adventures and not feeling like you're failing because everybody else seems like they're further along than you and all that kind of thing. I got to sort of be my own test dummy, go back through my own videos and watch all that stuff and implicate it into my life, and I'm feeling a lot better now. So, you know, I always say I'm really grateful for the negative things that happened to me because they turned me into the person I am, but that's usually negative thing happens a couple of years later. I learn a lesson, or I realise I've learned a lesson and go, wow, I'm really glad that happened. This has been a much quicker one where I just had a rough patch. I got the opportunity with that rough patch to, you know, test out all my theories, as it were, for a second time, and they all worked wonderfully. So kind of, I'm very grateful for that rough patch because it just reaffirmed my belief in this whole adventure of life and how I'm living it, which has been fantastic. And look, I rambled on a bit in this video, but if there's any takeaway from it, it's I'm going to be back on YouTube. I'm going to be trying to post as much as I can. A lot of my videos are going to be ramblings like this, so if you enjoyed this, stick around. A lot of them are also going to be adventure videos, a lot of them in the van, and I also might start, I will say, a mini series for now of fixing up the van, but I bet this is going to be a lifelong project, so it's probably going to be a full-on series on YouTube. I don't know whether it'll be a second channel for the van yet, or whether I'll just do a playlist on here, but adventures are coming, van adventures are coming, van build is coming, and a lot more of me rambling like this. Thanks for hanging around while I took a little break, and I'm so glad to be back. I'll see you in the next one.